Howdy.
Howdy.
That was an howdy this time. All right. So, my name is Ethan Barker. I am the Campus Events Vice President here, and that is...
I'm Mia McCallum. I am the Membership Committee Co-Chair.
And we're going to be giving you a presentation about food waste. So this is a very important one that you will be giving to people if you're in education. About food waste, how we can reduce it, what the biggest problems are, what we face, and what around the world what it looks like. So this is your sustainability. I've seen it a few times today. So you got your three pillars. They are interdependent systems that are mutually reinforcing. They all work on each other. Yes, it is great. Food waste defined. First, we're going to start off with food loss. Food loss is going to be a decrease in the quantity or the quality of food. The most important part of food loss that we're going to be looking at specifically is food waste, which is no other way about it. We're wasting food. It's the removal of perfectly good edible food, or what would become edible food if it's early on in the supply chain, that's being removed from the food supply chain, which you have right there. So there's 5 parts of the food supply chain: your production, handling and storage, processing and packaging, distribution, and consumption. So in production, the first stage of it, you're going to be losing food, wasting it actually, when it's left behind via your poor harvest methods and equipment, and food discarded because of appearance. You're going to see the most of that in your more underdeveloped countries, which we'll have a look at later in some diagrams. Handling, you're going to be losing a lot of food in food degradation, simply just in that whole storage process, moving from production into eventual processing and packaging. In processing, you're going to be wasting a lot of food in damages and when orders exceed their quantity or their size. Distribution. This is, we're getting more into the consumer part of it, we're almost there. You discard edible food based on appearances. This happens a lot in retail stores. They're going to take food off the shelf that doesn't look good, so they know we're not going to buy it. And consumption, that's solely on us, no other way around it. It's food not being eaten by individuals, families. Food restaurants won't serve because it doesn't look good, and the same thing goes for caterers. So there's some facts and figures and projections for you here. So by weight, not by mole, for those of you in chemistry. 32% of weight, food is wasted globally based on weight, and on a caloric basis, that is 1/4 of all food. So if you want to take a look at it based off of a developed versus developing countries ratio, we actually waste more food in a developed country than you would in a developing country. So we are going to see later that we lose a lot more food in the consumer and retail stage, where developing countries are going to lose a lot more food in production. They're not going to have as efficient methods of getting food from farming to on someone's table. However, once they do have that food, they value it, they know what it means, how hard it was to get that food, and they're not going to waste it. This is going to be breaking down your food based on what kind of food we're wasting the most. So if you want to look by like the energy resources in food, you're looking at a kilocalorie ratio. Cereals is a lot, and at first I was like, cereal? I don't waste that much cereal, and I realized it was talking about like rice and oats and like grain. I had a moment, it's okay. And then you just kind of work your way around the graphic, it's pretty explanatory. So one of the biggest things you can look at though is fruits and vegetables is only 13% by kilocalorie, so looking at it from an energy perspective. We want to look at it by weight. Look at all of the fruits and vegetables we're wasting by weight. That's like almost half of the food. That is a huge ratio. Same thing with milk, it almost doubles from energy to amount. Yeah. So this, if you want to take the total amount of food versus the amount of people, average number of families, a bunch of root metric equations, which are very fun. So the average family of 4 in the United States is going to waste $1,600 off of food they literally throw in the trash. If you want to convert that through a couple fancy equations into greenhouse emissions, all the energy resources it took to create the food and processing, to the carbon footprint behind that food to get it from farming to manufacturing to processing to your table that you then waste, that's that many metric tons per family. And water consumption, same thing, a couple more fancy equations. That's how much water we are wasting per year, 173 billion meters cubed, which also, a fancy thing is 24% of all water is used in agriculture, which is a huge thing. So a lot more sustainable efforts in the future need to be going towards how we can reduce the amount of water we use in agriculture. Based off of data from 2010, the United States, we waste, it's upwards now on more updated figures, close to 40% of our food. It's a terrible thing, and we need to teach people to be better, plain and simple. So that's a lot of money. It's a lot of food, and it's a lot of money worth of food. No matter how you want to look at it. It's a lot, and it's too much, and we need to be better. So this is fun. This breaks it down by country per stage in the food chain cycle where we are losing food. So it's pretty simple if you want to look at your developed and developing countries, North America, industrialized Asia, and Europe. Over half, or pretty close to half at least for Asia, consumption. Plain and simple, that is people, things that are pretty preventable, how we are wasting a lot of our food. Whereas you look at your developing countries, they have more of an excuse. They don't have infrastructure, they don't have the resources to put money behind better, more sustainable practices for creating food. But we have no excuse, plain and simple, when 60% is on us as consumers of the food we're wasting. So this is how we are not being as good people as we could be. So food spoilage, impulse purchases, going shopping late at night at HEB. I do it too often. You buy more than you need. Food spoils, you throw it away. Not storing food properly. So you buy food, you leave it in your hot trunk overnight because you went shopping at 11 p.m. at HEB. And then you're tired, so you just think about your bed. You want to go home. You leave the food in your car. Which also, forgotten food. That happens a lot in my apartment because my roommates buy so many fruits and vegetables and they think they're great people and they'll literally like Snapchat and they'll do these social media posts about it. Look at all the vegetables I bought. And what I should do is I should take a Snapshot of them throwing it all away 3 days later or a week later because they just forgot it was there and they don't use it. Large portions, simple, don't make your eyes be bigger than your mouth. Don't buy more than you need. You know yourself, you know what you're going to eat. Don't shop when you're hungry is a really good way to stop that. Kitchen mishaps I get a little giggle at, but it is true. You are going to waste food if you just spent a while making food and you drop it on the floor. You're not going to eat that. I wouldn't eat that. Throwing food away exclusively on expiration dates. We're going to watch a video about that in a little bit, but expiration dates are a hoax. Food scraps can definitely be reused. You can put them in plastic and Tupperware, put them in the fridge, eat them another time. And excessive food during restaurant outings, like buffets, putting a ton of food on your plate, and then, I'm full. It is time to watch Adam.
The eggs sell by yesterday, orange juice best by 2 days ago, yogurt used by last week. Well, now I have to get rid of all this food. If I don't, someone could get sick.
No, you don't. Best by, use by, sell by. Contrary to popular belief, none of these dates actually tells you when food stops being safe to eat. In fact, food can still be good way past the date on the label. According to food safety experts, eggs can be eaten 3 to 5 weeks past the sell-by date.
Sell-by dates? All right, yo.
And the USDA says canned and dried foods can be safe indefinitely.
Oh, I won't go bad for years.
And if food isn't handled properly, it can actually go bad before the date on the label. Even something as simple as leaving it out on the counter too long or setting your fridge at the wrong temperature can cut shelf life short.
It's so hot in here. I think I'm going, right? Okay.
At the end of the day, these dates just don't tell you that much. Instead, you need to check your food for signs of spoilage, like changes in smell, color, or texture.
Oh, woof. Okay, well then this milk is definitely bad.
Nope, you can still drink me.
Oh yeah, milk is a really neat exception. Even after it spoils, it's still totally safe to drink.
Oh, ew, stop me, you're gonna get sick.
Nope, milk is pasteurized, which means any harmful bacteria was removed long before it hit the shelves. Even though it might not taste great, the safety risks of drinking spoiled milk are virtually zero.
Adam, stop. I get it. But if the date doesn't say when the food's safe to eat, why does the federal government put it there?
Hate to break it to you, they don't. We all assume that these labels are some kind of big government safety regulation. But with the exception of baby food, the federal government actually doesn't require date labeling of any kind.
The citizens of this great nation have the inalienable right to eat 5-year-old mayonnaise if they want. For this is,
America.
Instead, it's all left up to the states, and every state has their own rules. In fact, 9 states have no date labeling regulations at all.
Well, who does put the dates on the food? It seems like they don't tell us anything at all.
Oh no, they do tell you one thing, when the manufacturer thinks their food tastes the best.
What?
Here at Hulco, we use cutting-edge food science to determine the exact best by and use by date at which our food is the most snack-tabulous. Still pretty good. Pretty good garbage, you mean? Dig it, boys.
But that food's not dangerous. And he just said it still tasted good.
Not good enough. We need our customers eating our food at maximum crunchitude, or they might buy something else. And hey, if they think they have to throw it away sooner and buy more.
But that's wasting food.
That's right, Melinda, and it's a major problem.
Melinda, this is Dana Gonders. She's a senior scientist at the Natural Resources Defense Council and a co-author of a major 2013 Harvard report detailing the massive problem with these dates.
Americans trash over 160 billion pounds of perfectly good food every year. Roughly 40% of our food supply is thrown out. And these confusing dates are a huge factor.
One survey found that 83% of Americans have prematurely thrown out food based on the sell-by date. But that date isn't even meant for consumers. It just tells stores when to turn over their inventory.
Wait, sell-by today? I bought this today. Oh well.
This is ridiculous. Someone should do something.
Well, some leaders in the grocery industry are pushing for clearer, simpler labels, but until there's a nationally mandated system, their recommendations are just voluntary.
And the worst part is, we're trashing all this perfectly good food while millions are going hungry.
Whoa, that one's alive. All this has got to go.
No, it's still good.
Hey, Adam here.
Thanks, Adam. So the biggest takeaway of that is expiration dates. Use your better judgment. So if it looks good and it tastes good, it's good. And yeah, so your chips that are gonna go bad, your your canned food, you're fine. Anyways, the last part of it is more tailored to you as college students living on campus in a dorm. What can you do to reduce your food waste? So, first part, shop mindfully and plan your meals. It's great to go to a grocery store with all this food in mind that you want to buy. A better thing you can do is just start it off simple in the notes on your phone. Say, this night of week I get home from class, I have time to make food, let's buy the food for this. And just planning it out, you're not going to buy more than you need. It's plain and simple. Don't buy perishable foods in excess. Don't buy a ton of milk that isn't going to go bad, but the expiration date's going to expire. Don't buy a gallon of milk if you're going to have a glass every other day. Buy what you need and you're going to use. Stock up on non-perishables, on snack foods that aren't going to need to go in the fridge, that aren't going to turn over quickly and need to be thrown away. Consider buying from produce on sale, or in our case, go buy food from Howdy Farm. Portion appropriately is really big because a lot of people just make food. If it's too much, throw the rest away. Don't do that. Save your food. Store food appropriately. Don't leave perishables out overnight. Don't leave them in your car. Keep moisture to a minimum. I cook a lot. Proteins on the skillet, in the stove. If you're going to be reusing them, if you're going to put them in the fridge, put them in plastic, let them sit out for a bit. Let them dry out, because if you put them in when they're damp and there's a lot of water in them, that water is going to generate a little bit of bacteria. It's going to turn over faster than you want it to. So try to keep moisture to a minimum when you're cooking, especially things like potatoes. If you make instant potatoes, I do because it's cheap and simple. They're pretty damp, so let them dry out for a little bit. Otherwise, it's wet and it's not great. Order what you know you can eat, especially when you're in public at restaurants have big meal sizes. Don't order that triple Whopper if you can only one patty's better for you. Don't waste food. Request takeout if you can. You go to restaurants, you can't finish food, don't leave it on your table. Ask for a box. Bring your own box with you if you want to be sustainable, then you don't waste a box. That's a little extra, but. And compost, especially, MSC, on your way to class, just hike. Bring some compost with you. It's, it's little things you can do like that. People see you doing it, it can really make a big difference. So, Mia is going to illustrate this for you.
So every presentation obviously has an activity that's associated with it. So for this one specifically, the presenter who's facilitating the presentation will either have this wonderful coffee maker with them and use fair trade coffee just to talk about food waste. And so you're like really getting like food while we're talking about like food waste or something, not really food, drink. So we would use like good old coffee machine, not a Keurig, not like K-cups, because you know sometimes that's like not the best, most sustainable choice. And then we can use like fair trade or like biodegradable coffee filters or compostable coffee filters. And we would use fair trade coffee, or there is another like food portion that would go with it, which is fair trade chocolate. So we can pass these around so you guys can see them. They're pretty cool. The fair trade chocolate specifically, 10% of it does go to, like 10% of the proceeds go to endangered species, like helping endangered species.
Remind me where we're buying these?
Those are sold at like Brussels Natural Foods as well as Target, and I'm not sure about the coffee. Where are the coffees from?
Coffee and chocolate comes from World Market.
Oh, okay.
And also know if you want, when you go to HEB, instead of, you know, buying things of, you know, coffee, I know it's not easy for everyone. Say you just got to college, you got a brand new coffee maker from someone in your family. That's okay. If you're gonna use a Keurig, there's ways around it. You can buy in bulk. You go to Sam's Club. You don't waste as much. If you do and are looking for a coffee maker, invest in something like this. You get, you know, compostable filters, and then reduce food waste even more when you buy beans yourself. Bring something with you. Like, I know HEB, the fancy new one, they have like selections of beans from where in the world. So you get like Arabica beans, you got beans from Africa, you got your Java beans, it's amazing. Light, medium, dark roast, I'm in love.
And then you can like grind your own beans. And
it's so great. Sorry.
Different
Yeah.
places.
So yeah, that's all I've got for you right now.
You guys have
Any
any
questions? I'll take that as a go. All right. Well, thanks, guys.